Okay, so Carlsen has just played rook g2, and there were two other possibilities at this stage. One was rook takes b6, exploiting the pin on the a7 pawn. So after c5, queen e3, rook a g8. And this is okay for white as long as he's careful, but black gets the initiative and some pressure despite being 2 pawns down. So Carlsen, fairly understandably, didn't go for that one. The other possibility, instead of rook g2, was e6, and after f takes e6, rook g1, queen h6. And this is in fact much stronger than was suggested by the French GM Christian Ball, who was commenting the game at the time and thought there was no concrete way for white to increase the pressure here, but in fact it leads to a crushing attack as follows: rook bg2, rook a g8, c5, bishop e8, and sorry, hold on a second. C takes b6, a takes b6, bishop e4, c5, queen a1, and it's very strong here because after, say for example, bishop d7, there's rook takes g7, and black would have to give up the queen here. If rook takes g7, then it's mate in 3 with queen a8 check, bishop e8, queen takes e8 check, rook g8, and queen takes g8, mate. So it would have to be queen takes g7, and after rook takes g7, rook takes g7, queen a8 check, rook g8, queen b7, and mate follows quickly after rook g7 to preserve that bishop, then queen b8 check, rook g8, queen c7, and the bishop is falling. Say rook g7 and queen d8 check, rook g8, queen takes d7, rook g7, queen d8 check, rook g8, queen f6 check, rook g7, d7, c4, d8, rook, and mate. So there's no way for black to get out of that, and there was one thing I had to look at with Fritz, like what if black had seen this threat and kept the queen side closed earlier, so the queen wouldn't have been able to come to a1 with that threat that meant the queen had to be given up. But that also fails as well at this stage. If after c5 and bishop e8, if instead of bishop e8 and b5 to keep those lines closed, then queen e5, a6, bishop h5, and it's mate in 7 no matter what black does because of the threat of bishop f7. Fritz recommends here bishop e8, but it's only because it delays the mate for as long as possible. After bishop takes e8, say b4, d7, b3, rook takes g7, rook takes g7, bishop h5, and there's no way to stop the d pawn from queening with mate other than sacrificing the queen, say with queen f6, and then d8, queen check, queen takes d8, and then queen takes g7 is mate. So it's it seems there was definitely a way to maintain that pressure there, and it's funny that Carlsen, well, it's not funny, I suppose. I mean, he's a grandmaster, he obviously knows more than me. Perhaps the way he did it was more accurate and more precise, and that's why he went for it. It's definitely more solid anyway. At this stage, he played rook g2. So then Dominguez played rook a g8, and then Carlsen played e6, which is, you know, a strong move as you saw in the previous variations, and there's obvious threats on g7 and on the black king. So now came bishop takes e6 and rook takes g7, and after rook takes g7, bishop takes c6, which is a good move from Carlsen. Like, he could have won Dominguez's bishop here with rook g1, and after f6, rook takes g7, king takes g7, d7, bishop takes d7, queen takes d7 check, king h6. And although it's a winning advantage, it's not the most accurate way to play again, and Carlsen, like all great grandmasters, doesn't rush the endgame and maintains his crushing pressure and positional grip. he'll be able to win Dominguez's bishop a few moves later in the game continuation anyway, whilst still maintaining very dangerous threats. After bishop takes c6, comes f6, d7, bishop takes d7, bishop takes d7, and rook e7 from Dominguez, hoping to get some counterplay with the rook e1 check. But here Carlsen played a great move with bishop e6, and now not only does he stop Dominguez's counterplay, but he has an even more crushing attack than before. What he's threatening is rook g1, which is massive threats on the black king. And here Dominguez blundered. Like, he should have played rook e8, but even then there's no way to stop the attack. Like, he really should resign in this position, but he was probably frustrated that he was getting no play at all, and here he took the bishop with his rook, and after this it's a forced mate in a maximum of 9 moves, and Carlsen found that with queen d8 check, and after king g7, rook g1 check, instead of winning the rook here by queen e7 check and taking the rook. Carlsen wants to give mate instead, of course. So king f7, and now it's mate m5 with a queen g8 check, king e7, rook g7 check, king d6, queen f8 check, and black resigns, seeing that there's no way to avoid the mate. A sample continuation is say king c6, then queen c8 check, king d6, and rook d7 mate. So it was a brilliant game from Carlsen, who is now again tied for first place in the tournament with Topalov and Shirov, and there's 3 games remaining, so it'll be very interesting to see how that goes. I'll replay that game quickly with the threatened squares highlighted, just so you can see it from start to finish. It was a brilliant game from Carlsen, as you saw there, and he's just a brilliant player. Hard to believe he's only 18, but he's been playing like this for 4 or 5 years now. Just yeah, phenomenal. And I think of his 3 remaining games, he's got 1 against Topalov and 1 against Shirov, and it's those 3 that are tied for first place, and so it'll be very interesting to see how those games go. I'm not sure when they are, but if they're good games like this one, then I'll do videos about them for sure. And Shirov and Topalov played their game today, and that was a draw, and that's what resulted in these 3 being right at the top together. Ivanchuk is having a terrible tournament at the moment. He's I think he's coming last. He's losing all of his games. He's not on good form at the moment, and yeah, just getting hammered by everyone. Yeah, that was a great move there. This bishop takes c6, never rushing the endgame. You read about that in all of the chess books. You know, it's a very important aspect. The temptation when you're ahead is just to go straight in for the kill and get mate. But well, if that's possible, obviously that's the best thing to do. But generally speaking, there's the position is defendable, and it's better to gradually build up your positional edge and just creep in and give your opponent absolutely no escape. Okay, that's it. Brilliant game from Carlsen. Hope you enjoyed that. Please leave any comments or thoughts. Thanks very much.